Nothing for Rick. Nothing for the judge. We'll move on to the work published works. I had asked Renee uh, to give us a update of all the projects that we got going on because we have some active, some been approved, not started. We got some we trying to approve. So I would like to get her to bring us up to date on the status of each one of them so we kind of know where we are. Just some general idea because I just see so many documents come across and if it's confusing to me, I'm sure it is to you guys. So I would just like for her to do that. And also she is going to spend some time and we're gonna do that too uh, on her job description. So with that said, Renee, would you take over and bring us up to date? You're muted, Renee. You are muted.
Can't hear you.
There we go.
Hey,
I think I got
okay.
it. Uh, in my report, I sent a little extra that is just talking about, like the mayor said, a few things that we've got going on. Tonight, KSA is on the agenda. Uh, I think um, we need to go ahead and approve the contractor that had the lowest bid, and I'm sure he's going to talk to y'all about that. I had sent the bid tab sheet to you guys, but the mayor said that it didn't come out. It was too light. It was Gates Utilities from Dumas, and that project is ready to start. All we got to do is just um, give the bid to um, one of these folks. Um, on the second note of that, there we found towards the end of that approval that we had a sewer line that was a little bit close, and we're moving it. We're going to go ahead and move it to expedite this project. Um, Hopefully, it won't cost quite as much as what I estimated. It shouldn't take us very long to do it. It's less than 100 feet. And then I had Mr. Carlos Perez is the guy that him and his son bought the old Hickenbotham building, and they are probably going to get it open and going in February. And he's very interested in the property that is behind Higginbotham's, the property that the city owns. He wants to expand that building in that yard and possibly have some equipment rentals in there as well. And he asked me to um, make y'all aware of his desire to purchase it and let y'all, make a decision on that. Um, Something else that has been brought to my attention by several different people and with some complaints is that we have a lot of houses in Seagraves that don't have their houses marked with numbers. And I've told people that there's not a lot I can do about it, that it's up to the city council to make an ordinance requiring every resident to mark their houses. Um, I know that it's a problem with like the emergency surgery services and maybe the police department finding places without addresses. I know it's a problem for us every now and then in emergency situations. Um, the wastewater project is well on its way. I think it's getting very close to being approved and going for bids. And I'll keep y'all updated on that as Chad updates me. I do want to go ahead and get a little jump start on that and put in some chopper pumps at the wastewater plant. At the main lift station. That's going to benefit us a lot. And I don't know if y'all went to that YouTube site, but if you did, you saw the benefits that those pumps would give us. That's about all I have. I wrote most of it up. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I have the question about he wanted to purchase the land just right south of the lumberyards.
Yes, sir, that's correct. The property that the city owns that we've been talking about all this time to build the animal shelter on.
Yeah, that's going to require quite a bit of discussion behind that, because
Yes, sir.
so we can definitely not make a decision on that. But
Yes,
well,
sir. I told him as much that y'all would have to talk about that, because that property had been kind of set aside for, another purpose. So he's aware. He doesn't expect you to make a decision right
so
now.
so he's going to be that large that he going to have large rental equipment that he's going to store there.
That's what I'm understanding. His son told me that they were wanting to put in, something on a much smaller scale as handy rental, but they wanted to have equipment, maybe some backhoes, ditchers, things like that that could rent out. And places for more, storage for concrete and blocks and bricks and whatever.
Yeah, but his plans is to start opening in February.
That's what they told me. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we got some time to talk about it. Our council, we'll get together and give him an answer.
Okay, I'll let him know then.
What about the job description? You want to go over that now? Or you want to wait, or what?
Charles, you wanna say something?
That's up to you, sir. I'm
It's
hoping
an
everybody
agenda
got it.
item.
What do you council
It's an
members think?
agenda item. It's number 9.
Okay, let's
And
just wait to the end. Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right. Otherwise, we will still need a
Charles,
approve. Yes,
Shannon has something to say.
yes.
Renee, I just want to ask you, where are we at as far as still doing something about cleaning up the standing vehicles, people cleaning up and stuff? Where are we at on marking vehicles for people to do something with that? Because I've noticed that it's kind of been at a standstill and nobody's doing anything.
Well, I'm sorry to say, but I don't generally deal with the vehicles. That's usually the police department's agenda, not mine. I'm sorry.
Shannon, that's actually going to fall in the category of the zoning committee. All of that is supposed to be part of that. So, right now I know we getting some more problem with big trucks. Actually, we're getting some right in front of my yard. So we do have some zoning problems that we need to address quick. It's not the time to really talk about that, but we have identified the zoning committee, but we need to take some time and put that into action.
Hey, Charles, now that you're talking about the zoning committee, can you go ahead and set that up for next month? To have a meeting to get that start on it?
Yeah, we need to do it as soon as possible. Yes, I agree. I really agree.
Do,
I
do we,
think,
do we meet with them in a council meeting to discuss what their,
yes.
so I guess next meeting, next month, they'll be at our meeting to discuss what their job description
You
is?
know, I think we just need to dedicate a special meeting, nothing but for the zoning. And we just spend time explaining to them, this time go over really what our objections are and what we want them to do. Give them a copy of the ordinance that we have in place, go over it, and what we want to include. But it's going to require some discussion and better organized than it was before. So we need to take time and spend time and dedicate a meeting especially for that zoning.
Could you get that done pretty quick? Because this has been going on for way too long.
Sure.
Is any one of us on the zoning board? Any council member on the zoning board?
There's supposed to be one, and the mayor is what was on it before.
So did
Yeah,
we decide
yeah, I'm
who?
gonna be on there. I thought there was who volunteered. I thought, was it
I'm
you,
one.
Deborah?
I'm one.
Yeah, I thought Ruben did.
Okay. Okay, you know, real soon I'll send out an email and give you some date and see what's good, and we'll
Okay.
set it up.
Okay.
Dan, have all of them been ordained? Yeah, have
I
all this?
I believe that they have all taken the oath now,
Yeah,
and you and Alderman Baez are already under oath. So it would seem to me the protocol would be not necessarily, unless you feel it's necessary, to involve the entire city council, but I can give you the contact list for everybody who's on the zoning board. They all, I'll make sure that you and Alderman Baez get a copy, but everyone else has been supplied a copy of the ordinance and the zoning map.
yeah.
I send it all to all of them. They have it in electronic form. And I'll give you their contact information. And if you'd like to organize an initial meeting of that board, that may be the way to start.
Okay, we need to start from somewhere. That sounds good. So I'll get with you and get all that information and go from there. Anything else on the consent agenda? If not, I'd like to have a motion and a second, please.
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as discussed. This is Alderman Middleton, sorry.
Alderman Vice seconded.
Okay, motion has been made by Alderman Deborah Middleton, second by Ruben Weiss. All in favor? Alderman Ruben Weiss,
Aye.
Alderman Shannon Wadzik, Alderman Shannon Wadzik, Alderman Deborah Middleton,
Aye.
Alderman Kenry Sellers,
Aye.
Alderman Cindy Durham.
Aye.
Let me go back to Alderman Shannon Wadzik. Would you unmute, please?
Aye.
Thanks. Motion has been made and passed and approved. So next on the agenda, well, we can now back up to audit report by Davis Ray and Company.
Okay, thank y'all for allowing us to do the audit again. Of course, I know most of it. My name is Derek Ray. I'm going to hit this. I don't know if y'all want the quick version or the real quick version, but I'm going to try to fall somewhere in between, and so we can move along. Does everybody have a copy of the audit? I'm assuming?
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, let's go to page 1 is our independent auditors report. Just like we have in the past, I'm going to just kind of highlight down the bottom. We had a basis for a qualified opinion. We qualify this opinion, as we've discussed, because we don't have a fixed asset listing. I know I've talked to Dan, and that is going to be resolved this year. I know we've entered into an agreement with, I can't remember the company off the top of my head, but to value the assets, come in and value streets, curbs, gutters, that sort of stuff. Once that's valued, we have a depreciation schedule. I'll be able to audit it. We'll be able to remove this qualification, which I think in time will help with our grant process and funding. So that's what we're shooting for. But we still had that modification. Let's hit over to page 3, is the first page of our management's discussion and analysis. First bullet point, the city's total combined net position is 8.8. That's up from about 8.4 the previous year. Basically, it's up 400,000 plus. And that's government wide. That includes general fund, water and sewer, economic development, streets, everything combined. That's what that third bullet point will say. During the year, the city's expenses were 456,000 less than the 2.5 million. And like I said, that is government wide, which is not really the financial statement y'all see on month to month. That's considered fund financial, but this is government wide. That's going to include depreciation and that sort of stuff. That's 456 is better than what we've had in the past. That's for sure. Let's head over to the next page, page 4. There's a breakdown and comparison of our governmental activities and our business type activities. For the record, our governmental activities are the general fund, the economic development, and the streets. Your business type activities will be just your water and sewer. Biggest thing to note that I can say the big difference is over in the business type activities, our property, plant, and equipment. About, 5-6 lines down, bottom of the total assets is, you'll see we went from 7.3 to 7.6. Biggest part of that in the water and sewer fund is we bought all that land. About 300,000 of that land. That's the biggest part. I know we bought 2 trucks for the water and sewer. We bought over in the general fund for the police, we bought 2 Tahoes. We bought another truck for the parks department. That's over there in the governmental activities. Really not much else to note there other than, I'll mention the accounts payable and accrued expenses. You'll see over in the business type activities, right off the bat under current liabilities. Last year we had 225,000. This year we have 94 in payables. Biggest part of that is we had about 157,000 last year at the end of the year payable for our final payment for that water treatment. We made that payment. Thus, that's the reason the decrease of 225 to 94. Let's head over to the next page, and these are totals. And these will be totals of your governmental and business added together. You'll see cash, total cash went down about 161,000, but property, plant, and equipment went up about 454,000. Accounts payable went down about 135,000. You pay off a lot of payables and you buy a lot of equipment, your cash is going to go down, but it's still in a very healthy position. So I wouldn't be too concerned with that. Move over to page 6 is a change in net position of the city. Basically, basic terms, an income statement, basically. Biggest thing to note is you'll see the last line under before total revenues, there's operating transfers in and out. We had to make an accounting entry of 525,000 operating transfer out of governmental fund and operating transfer into the water and sewer. And what that basically was for is the land that was bought was actually paid for out of the general fund and not the water and sewer like it should have been. So we had to even it out by getting a transfer over there, and there was some debt service on the CO, on the certificate of obligation that came out of the general fund instead of the water and sewer. That's what that operating transfer in and out is, to reconcile that. Like I said, next biggest thing, you can go down to the second part of that is our total from 19 to 20 and amount of change. you'll see a decrease in charges for services, and biggest part of that, 90-something thousand, is about 60,000 in police fines. We had a significant decrease in number of tickets written this last fiscal year, like 1,400 down to like 900. So thus we had, that's a significant decrease there. Locally, we kind of made up with it. We had pretty much increases across the board after that. Property tax revenue was up higher. We got a couple of grants. The $31,000 grant was, I think, a CARES Act, and the $30,000 was a USDA grant. But real healthy, very, very healthy. Go over to page 7. Some of this is just narrative form, what I've talked about already. Changes in net position. Of course, we had that decrease in 91,000. Talked about that. Get down to analysis of city funds. You'll see that we talk about in the governmental funds that we had a lot of operating transfers out to the water and sewer. Then we get down to proprietary funds. We talk about transfers into the water sewer. It's just, that was accounting. Just we got to get to where we're paying the water and sewer stuff, like buying the land that we're putting water out of the water and sewer. Get the money transferred over there to do it, so I don't make an audit entry to get it corrected. Let's get over to the next page, page 8. Going to show a little bit of our capital assets. I've kind of hit that a little bit. We had, like I said, the big purchases we had, 2 Tahoes, police department, truck in the parks department, 2 trucks in water and sewer, and then the $300,000 worth of land in the water and sewer. That's the increases. We did turn back a cat that we turned back and got another lease, but major items, I think that hits them. What I'm going to do is the next few pages is a summary of the numbers I just went over. There's not anything different on these next from page 9 to about page 18. I mean, there's a cash flow statement stuff, but the numbers are the same as what I just went over. I'm going to go past those and get over into the notes. We've hit, if y'all want me to stop, if y'all got some questions, please stop me. But a lot of this is just going to be a regurgitation of what I've already said. So let's move over to page 19 and start hitting the notes. Only thing different with the financial statements this year is we have added another fund. And I think we're going to be adding another fund moving forward next year. I think that's correct, a wastewater fund. But the new fund we added this year was the streets fund. That's the biggest thing that we've added as far as accounting wise, as far as audit wise, that I can bring up to y'all. Page 19 is the notes to the financial statements. Like we said in the past, our taxing jurisdiction, our accounting records, our audits are subject to review. I mean, any citizen that wants a copy of it, we have to provide a copy. These notes will detail out what the city is about, how their method of accounting, how their funds are set up, which ones are governmental funds, which ones are proprietary funds. That's what this is talking about right here. Go over to page 20. We got our general fund. Down there is the major governmental fund, and then we got our special revenue funds, which are the economic development and the street maintenance. And why those are considered special revenue, because we have a tax, we have a special revenue to fund those. That's why they're called special revenue fund. And then the proprietary fund is the enterprise fund, that's the water and sewer. And we've gone over that in the past. The water and sewer is operated like a normal business. In a perfect world, we generate enough revenue to pay for the expenses in the water and sewer. We shouldn't have to borrow money from the general fund or from tax dollars to fund it. We've gotten miles and miles and miles better than what it was several years ago. Several years ago, this wasn't being able to fund itself. That's not the case anymore. It's a combination of several things, watching our cost and, better like a word, increasing our rates has caused a lot of that. All right, we'll go over to page 21, just a little bit more about what the city is, our budget and budgetary process. Talks about our property taxes down there, when they're assessed, when they're levied. Go over to page 22. We haven't added new investment in this current year. This is the first year we've had a tax pool account on this audit. That's mentioned right there in the middle. We got the tax pool, we got the T-bill, and we got our CDs. Go over to page 23. Additional notes that have been added this year that weren't last year about the public investment pools. Once we got into tax pool, there's additional notes. Kind of talks about the tax pool in detail there. Go over to page 24 is about the same notes we've had in the past. Page 25 talks about our fund balances. We have restricted or unrestricted or unassigned fund balances. That's all usually all done by board approval, whether we need to restrict some for whatever long-term use. Go down to the bottom of that, it's changes in general fixed assets. You'll see some additions to, this is in the general fund actually. Biggest addition, machinery and equipment. Biggest part of that's going to be your Tahoes, that 115. There's a Tahoe and a truck for the parks is in that 115,000. Next page at the top is the changes in our proprietary fund type. You'll see the big ones, the 300,000 for the land. Another 58,000 would be for the 2 trucks, and then we have 30,000, I think, for some construction in progress that we got that USDA grant for that we paid up front. I think to the, I don't know if it's architect, engineers, something we paid up front there. Going on the bottom of page 26, a detail of all of our notes. We entered into several new note agreements this year. Like I said, the new note agreements for the Chevy Tahoe is one of them, and the Ford F-150. That's the 2 notes right there in the governmental. That's the only 2 notes we had right now in the general fund is the vehicles we bought this year. Down to the business type activities, we still have an old note for a new truck that back in 2018 when we bought a truck. The next one was the capital lease purchase on that loader that we returned back. And then the next page is for the new Ford pickups that we just bought. That's a little more detail. If you look in the middle of page 27, a little more detail of what we have in our general fund and our business type activities, which is our water and sewer. Note 4 is detail of our certificate of obligation. Just slowly getting that thing paid away. We're doing fine with it. Last thing I'm going to hit on this page is a little addition to the subsequent event notes down there, and that's the reason why we're on this Zoom call is just the uncertainty surrounding the coronavirus pandemic. We got to put it in there. I know y'all are monitoring it. It's affecting all walks of life, but I had to put a disclosure in there of the potential uncertainty surrounding it. The next 10, 12 pages going to talk about our pension plan and our other post-employment benefit plan that are all with TMRS. All of these numbers, all of these notes are directly pulled from the audit done by the people by KPMG that do the TMRS. Actuaries come in with these numbers. I don't audit these numbers. I'm required to pull these numbers and put them in here. It's like I said, the guys that do this actuary, they're on a lot higher pay grade than I am. I could sit down and explain it to you, but we don't have, that'd be a good thing to come to the office and we'll sit down and explain it. But that's what these notes are. These are pulled directly from the TMRS report that they post online that we must include. Basically, to sum it up, we have net pension liabilities that if everybody was to quit at the same time and want to draw their pension out at the same time, we would have a liability out there. The city would, but paying all these people because that's why they change that rate from year to year. They increase it to try. In a perfect world, they want to get this liability, this net pension liability down to 0, but they can't because they got money invested in certain different markets, makes money, loses money. So that's why we adjust from year to year. So it's, they try to get it down to 0, very few of them do. Y'all aren't the only one that have a liability out there. Y'all do have a smaller one than most of the people that do, but anybody that's with a pension, whether it's teachers, school districts with TRS, counties with the TCDRS, or cities with the TMRS, got these disclosures, and most of them have a net pension liability. All right, let's get over to the required supplemental information. Is the budgetary analysis on page 39. In a perfect world, we want that far right column to be favorable. You'll see we had some unfavorable on the expenditures, and the main thing was its capital outlay. And this is just general fund. We went over our budget in the capital outlay. You know, that's, like I said, we budgeted 18.5 and we ended up buying 2 Tahoes and a truck. So that's what the big negative 120 is. All I can say is, you know, that's just something the board, as long as the board's aware of that, that's fine. But I would try to get our budgetary process a little closer so we don't have a big unfavorable variance, you know. So the people like Renee or Dan have they can look at this monthly and see where we're falling in on the budget side, whether we're going under or over. Next few pages are, we're going to be required to have 10 years of disclosures on this net pension liability. As you'll see, the print's getting awfully small. We're running out of room, but this is your liability. You'll see net pension liability is about 4th row from the bottom. We're down to 207,000. So basically, if everybody left the city that was employed and everybody wanted to pull their money out right now, we'd be liable for about $200,000 to get them fully covered in their pension. That's not going to happen. I mean, it's just unfeasible. But as you can tell, looking across there, that's gone from 357 last year to 207. So they adjusted your rates. Obviously, the money that y'all have invested in there worked for them better. We got more money in the fund, thus reducing that liability. And that's basically all I want to hit that's in the audit report. Y'all should all have a management letter, a loose letter in the back of that audit report. I'm going to go over this real quick. Some of this we've already talked about. Some of this will be corrected. But I will hit the delinquent balances. I think y'all have a line item on this on the agenda today. But water receipts, there's, in our accounts receivable, there's people back from like, with old accounts back to like 2005. I don't know if these people are alive. I don't know if they've moved. I don't know what's happening. We would suggest reviewing this receivable list. And if it's uncollectible, let's go ahead and call it bad debt, get it off the list and call it bad debt expense and move on. You know, if somebody's got an old payable to us from 2004, 2005, and they're not around, we're not going to collect it. You know, that's the whole point of having a write-off procedure. I would recommend sometime in the next year, fiscal year, let's get a list and start working on this. If we think some of them can be collected, I got no problem turning those over to collection. You know, that's going to have to be y'all's call on that. You know, y'all know some of these folks a lot better than I do. Second things about our fixed assets and depreciation. We've hit that already. That's getting resolved. That's getting resolved in this next fiscal year. Bottom of the page, there's just some cleanup, some accounting items. This used to be, understand, this management letter used to be about 3 pages long, 4 pages long. It's like a page and a third now. We just need to be careful on recording things in the right account, recording things in the right fund. If it's water and sewer, let's pay it out of water and sewer. If it's general, let's pay it out of general. That's basically what those 2 bullet points are hitting. And the last thing is municipal court. We pulled a sample. We noticed some issues of in our sample that a show cause hearing was not scheduled. And I know this year we had some issues with, COVID. We couldn't do some stuff. There was some stuff that couldn't happen because of the pandemic. But we need to stay on top of it. If the show cause hearing is supposed to be scheduled after a certain number of days, we need to schedule it. If they don't show, we need to send those off to to collection. And I'll say about the same thing with municipal court as I will with the water receipts. There's some old ARs. Those need to be either sent or deemed uncollectible. And let's write those off too, to bad debts. Let's take a review of that list. And the last thing I'm going to hit and just kind of prepare y'all going into next year, and I've talked to Dan about this, is I know we're receiving some federal funding moving into next year. We're receiving federal funding that's going to be over $750,000, which then is going to kick you into single audit requirements. Single audit requirements is going to make this audit report about 10 to 12 pages bigger. There's additional letters, there's additional testing. Certain samples that we got to pull 25 and normal, we're going to have to pull 60 to 75 to 80. It's going to be, the test work will be more extensive next year for the single audit. We don't have any choice. You're going to be required to do a single audit if you receive over 750,000. Also, there'll be additional testing with the fixed assets, especially being the first year. Hopefully we have a depreciation schedule, but I haven't had to test fixed assets because we didn't have a depreciation schedule all these years. That's going to be something new that's going to be tested. I just wanted to give y'all a heads up of what's coming down the pipe. Is this audit will be more extensive moving forward. And as long as we have a single audit, as long as we have federal funds over 750, it's, like I said, this is a 40-something page audit. And like, for example, the school audit we just finished, which is a single audit, it's like 65 pages. And a lot of it is just additional work, additional documentation, additional letters, additional notes. So just be aware of that. And I'm done. If anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Derek, I'm sure we're gonna have a little time to digest this, and we may have some questions we'll have to follow up with, but there's quite a bit of new stuff that you just said, that's gonna be different than what it's gonna be next year.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's some things that we're gonna have to work on. I mean, is there anything that we can do different than what we're doing now to make that any?
Y'all are doing things different to make it better. Y'all are getting that fixed assets. And like I said, you get after the first year and have a depreciation because I'm going to remove this qualification. But this first year is going to be very difficult. I mean, we're going to be taking stuff that's 20, 30, 40 years old and putting it, I mean, you're hiring an outside firm to put it on a schedule that I've got to go in and still put an opinion on it that it's accurate and it's verifiable. But
Well,
y'all are doing great. I mean, it's doing great. It's just, and that's not going to be as much additional work as just the single audit. And the single audit is just, it's just part of the deal. You start receiving federal funds, they make us jump through a lot more hoops. This audit will be sent to, it'll be sent to a lot. I mean, I got to send it into uniform, the data collection forms got to be sent off to OMB. There's just certain regulatory bodies that's going to require a copy of this audit because we have over 750,000 of federal funds.
yeah. Okay, like I said, I know I do. There's a couple questions that I'm kind of confused on. So
if I went too fast over this audit, I'm be more than happy to circle back. If you got some questions within this current audit report, I'll be happy to circle back.
yeah. No, I think, but there is one thing that really surprised me on that budget process, that how we missed our budget that much on those two pickups. I think you said we had budgeted like 18,000. I thought we budgeted. I don't know where we missed it. We normally include that.
Let's see here. I've got it right here. At the wrong year. Oh yeah, I thought I had it right here. Yeah, we had in the administrative fund, we had budgeted 3,000, and in the police department, as far as capital outlays, we have a budget of $3,000 in the police, and we bought $90,000 worth of police vehicles.
Hmm.
And we had 3,000 in the budget I have, we got $3,000 from last, I mean, this would be for the 2019, 2020. You know, it's just, I don't know.
Okay. I
Don't know where we missed it at, but that's just, and it's real easy, Charles. If we do miss it and we figure it out during the year, we can do a budget amendment,
Okay.
you know? And I would suggest that if we are going to go over budget, well, let's do a budget amendment. But we didn't have any of those to actual increase the line item for capital outlays in the police department. So,
Right. Okay. Okay. We'll we'll relook at that, and like I said, we probably need a little time just to go over what you just talked to us about, and if we have any questions, we'll definitely get back with you.
well, thank you all again for your time.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you very much. Glad to. I know, as I remember in the past, I know y'all been over 2 to 3 days compared with used to see you guys over almost 2 weeks.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
that's-
It's, I mean, I can get over there and take a full crew and get over there in 3 days. And like I said, you know, nothing
Well,
against Seagraves, but I've been over there 2 weeks going back and forth for 2 weeks. So I'm happy we can get it done in 3 or 4 days. And that's a credit to the board cleaning things up. That's a credit to Dan cleaning things up. So it's miles and miles better than heck, as much as 3-4 years ago. It's just so
yeah.
that's commendable to everybody involved.
Like I said, we thank you and appreciate your work and everything. And if we got some question, which I'm sure we have, we will get back with you.
Okay, well, I'm gonna duck out if y'all don't need me anymore. Okay,
All right. Thank you, Derek.
thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Bye. Okay, next on the agenda is the discussion and the possible action proposed to the City Hall and the Police Department, John Perkins, with USDA, RD, and Mark Pilter, VGA architects, who will be available. They are here to answer any questions, so they are on Zoom. So right now, John, we'll turn it over to you first.
Okay, very good. Mayor, council, it's good to be here. So I thought I'd just kind of give a little status of the project. First of all, the architect agreement. So we've completed our review of the agreement. It's ready to be signed. 3 originals should be signed. Each original should have Guide 27 attached and the list of reimbursable charges attached. So there's an AIA agreement, and then there is the Guide 27 Attachment 1, which makes some modifications to the agreement that are in your favor, by the way. And then the reimbursable list. We would need 3 complete executed and attested original agreements. And then the agency would concur the agreements by signature, retain 1 set and return the other 2 to the city for distribution. We would want the agreements to be signed by the owner and architect on the attachment signature sheet. And each would need an attested signature. So in other words, someone will attest that that is your signature. Usually we're talking about the city secretary would attest the mayor's signature, and then architect would have someone attest his signature. In addition, each page of the agreement and the two attachments should be initialed in the lower left-hand corner, just to make sure that everyone agrees to each attachment there. So the approved agreement was sent over in a letter. I think it's been a week or two ago that we sent that. Once the agreement is signed, then you can authorize your architect, VGA Architects, Mark, to proceed with the preliminary architect report. So he would prepare this report. He would address each item that is on attachment 5. And that report would basically tell us and you what is being financed, what is your project, what is, it would address your existing facility, what your the improvements that you want to make, the new facility that you're proposing, and so forth. And so he would prepare that report. The third item that we would have is an environmental report. So anytime federal funds are used, we have to do environmental. So that's something that is not in the architect's agreement. And so you would need to contract separately with a consultant that would do that environmental assessment. So, we can throw some names out there, or I think that Mark can probably help you get someone that has done an environmental assessment before, like on your property that you bought as for the wastewater treatment plant. That environmental could be essentially, he's already got a shell that he could use for the City Hall Police Station project if you wanted to use that consultant. That's totally up to you, but it would be the exact same format that was used for that environmental. And I think the fourth item would be a feasibility study. So anytime that we do a loan like this under community facilities, we require a feasibility study. Due to the amount of this loan, it's fairly small. We would allow this to be completed by someone on the city staff if they feel comfortable doing this, or you could have your financial advisor do it. Now, the cost of the feasibility study, just like the architect and the environmental, it's all reimbursable by the loan. So, and it's very similar to the wastewater loan that we're making. There's certain things that the city will have to prepay on things and then get reimbursed for. So your architect is going to charge you for the preliminary engineering report. He's going to give you invoices. And so as long as those invoices are in accordance with that agreement, then we reimburse the city with loan funds for that. Same thing with the environmental. That's why we want to look at each agreement first and approve it before you, enter into an agreement and start making payments to a consultant. In fact, every invoice that you receive, if you send it to me, I'll look at it. I'll make sure it's in accordance with the agreement. And then I'll just shoot an email back and say, yeah, you can go ahead and pay this. And so that'll help you out a little bit there. But each one of these studies, so we're talking about 3 different reports. There's the one done by the architect, the environmental report done by an environmental consultant, and then there's the feasibility study that is, some cities will do it in-house. They'll have a financial, director or somebody, and then other cities may have their financial advisor do it. Either way, if you have your financial advisor do that, then we would just need, again, to see an agreement so we know how much we're going to have to pay them for that. So is there any questions about the process or the status?
The process, you mentioned like the architect, the environmental study, the feasibility study, all those 3 items, we would have to pay for them. And when do we get reimbursed? After the project's over?
You get reimbursed at loan closing. And so it's just like your sewer project that we financed. We have to have a loan closing, and, very similar to, buying a house, and that, we don't, you don't get any money till you get to the closing table. And you may have already incurred some expenses, for your appraiser and your inspector and different things, and you don't get reimbursed until loan closing when you buy a house. And it's the same thing with this, in that for us to finance, for USDA to finance a project under the community facilities, we have to have, number one, a complete application. And so that complete application requires the architect report, the feasibility study, and the environmental. And so once we receive all that and we've reviewed it, then we would do our underwriting and approve the loan, and I would deliver a letter of conditions to you, just like Dayla delivered to you. And so, those conditions, we would approve the loan at that time, and you would be assured that, hey, there's so much money that's obligated for that project. And so you would have some assurance at that point that you could go ahead and authorize your architect to prepare plans and specs. Okay. But on this project, there's not a grant, whereas the sewer project, we had the $30,000 grant and, the search grant. And so we were able to pay the engineer for the environmental and his report. Community facilities doesn't have that type of funding to pay for a report.
Okay, anyone else have any more questions?
I do. This is Alderman Middleton. And Mr. Perkins, we're just wondering on this feasibility study, the things that are, we've got the architect hired, the VGA architects. But is there a difference if we look at buying an existing building here and redoing, or totally buying land and building brand new? Is that part of the feasibility study? Or I guess I may be asking a stupid question, I'm not for sure, but we just want to make sure. I don't know how to word it, but if we
Well-
have talked about building brand new as to buying an existing building and redoing.
Yeah, and we can finance that as well. If the city, council wants to go that route and buy an existing building, I mean, that's something that's eligible for the program if you want to do
Okay.
that. And, really, you might have your architect consider that as an alternative. And so a lot of times the architect in his report will, give out 2 or 3 different alternatives. And one alternative might be, purchase of an existing building and rehabbing that building, and, making it fit what you need and giving you a cost estimate for that. And so
Okay.
comparing that to a new building, sometimes an existing building is, going to be more expensive than a new one just because of everything that's got to be done. And so, but he can do that cost estimate on whatever, and you might have 3 or 4 different alternatives, and it's whatever of course that probably drives up his cost and,
Mhm.
But I mean, that's up to the council on what you want him to look at. And that's the purpose of that report is, so that everybody on the council can agree to the project that you want to do before you present it to USDA and say, yeah, there's 3 alternatives here, but we want to do alternative 2, and he would justify that, I guess, in his report and show what you want to do.
Okay.
But it's totally a council decision.
Thank
What
you.
you
I
want to
just
do.
wanted to make sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone have any more questions for Mr. Perkins?
Well, I'll be here if somebody else has a question.
Mayor,
Mark is here. You haven't? Yes.
uh, if I understand Alderman Middleton and the council at this point, and you are intending to engage the services of VGA and sign the letter that Mr. Perkins is referring to, if we could just have a simple motion to accept that proposal, I'll get all of that ready for the signatures and we'll get that part of it done so that we can have the architect on consult on whatever it is the council would like him to look at.
let me say one thing. I mean, the council does know the intent is to construct a new police officer along with City Hall. And that is our intention, I hope.
I mean, we've discussed several different things, Mayor. And if anyone else has any, thing to say, but, that's why I was asking the form that we're going to sign and recommend tonight. Does it say new construction? Is that all we're going to get from the architect if we sign these forms we have? That's my question.
Mayor, would you like me to answer that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, right now we've actually chatted with Mayor and Dan about some of the spaces as well as the police department. And we've kind of put together a little bit of a program to kind of figure out approximately the square footages that we would need for a new building, and be more than willing to entertain looking at another building as well with that proposal, because as John said, is we've got to put together a report, and just depending on what you're looking at, whether it's renovating an existing or doing a new, we can certainly put together those costs together for you so that you can look at the different options and make an educated decision on which way you want to go with the budget that you have.
Okay. I guess that's something we would probably like to see to kind of give us an idea of where we are and what we can do.
Yeah.
I guess my question is to the mayor. Charles, listening to Mr. Pelletier, I mean, looks like you and Dan have given them some things to start figuring. I mean, square footage and locations and things, or?
That's correct. We have met with them a couple of weeks ago. And
I wish we would have known about that. I mean, to me, the council needs to know what y'all are doing.
that's where we already had approved for the architecture. And
Well,
that was that approval.
We approved the architect, but have we approved what we're wanting them to do?
Yeah,
That's why I asked.
We were just given a little bit of information in order to fill out the AIA document, because originally we didn't have a real good program, and in order to finish the USDA, really the AIA document, we had to have a little bit of background. We've got some of the spaces that they're thinking about, but certainly all of this is something that we still need to go over with everybody. It's nowhere near where we need to be in terms of input. We still need to get up there, look at the existing facilities for the police station and City Hall, and kind of ask a lot of questions. Right now, we just got a little bit of background information so that we could fill out the AIA document.
Charles,
Yes.
Cindy Durham. Mr. Pelletier, if we have a facility in mind, can y'all look at that when you come and look at our facilities we already have?
Yeah, that'd be ideal.
Okay. Can some of us be in on some of that?
Certainly. If we come up during the course of a day, is that a problem for everyone, or would it be better at a evening hour or weekend, or?
Well, if you would give us, a little bit of notice, might could arrange for the majority of us could be there.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know, most of us work, so, you know, we have to make some arrangements, you know, to do that, so.
Yeah, and I'd be certainly willing to do it at a lunchtime if that works better for everybody.
Okay, that might be a possibility too. Just, I mean, when are you thinking to come? I mean, after the first of the year or before? Or-
You know, I'd actually be, it'd be easy enough for me to come next week if that's not a problem. I've actually been quarantined till this Thursday for COVID. So
Been done that.
we
Uh,
we were hoping to get up there last week, but because of my situation, I can't do it till either Thursday or Friday of this week, or would be next week if that works for everyone.
Okay, let us discuss it here in a little bit, maybe, and we would, you know, maybe talk about what all of we got going on next week.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem.
I would just say that we do need that signed agreement. So it'd be great if you guys could go forward with that.
Why don't you explain it to us again, what it is we're signing or going to approve?
Well, this is the agreement with the architect that, you know, would basically, he can't do anything until he has an agreement. And I'm not sure Mark, you know, really wants to make a trip up there without an agreement in hand, but then there's nothing in their agreement that he would go forward with without a notice to proceed from the city. So, you know, once he looks at that, if y'all are ready for him to start on a report, then you would simply issue a notice to proceed to him and say, go, you know, complete the report. And then he would start doing that. And then, you know, and so each thing has a phase or a, you know, once you get the report, then you decide, well, do we want to go forward? You know, which alternative do we want to do? And so there's steps, but the first thing is you have to have the agreement signed before he can even do the first item on there, if that makes sense.
Money. We didn't budget.
Anyone have a question to Mark?
Mayor, because we didn't budget this and we're not going to be reimbursed until, like he said, the actual note is signed and everything, is there going to be a problem with this? Because we are going to be out, the architect, we will be reimbursed, like he said, at the time of the note signing, but we're going to have the architect fee, we're going to have the environmental study and the feasibility study coming out of the city's money. And it was not budgeted. So I'm just asking, I understand it could be another year and a half before. Am I thinking right, Mr. Perkins? I mean, you're shaking your head. I just want to make sure we're understanding as a council.
Well, I think, you know, a year and a half, certainly not. I mean, maybe Mark can give us, you know, a little estimate on what it would, how much time it would take for him to do the report. But I mean, I'm really anticipating approval of these funds probably in January or February. Mark, how long do you think it would take to do the report?
actually take me about 3 weeks to really take a good look at things. The downside is that 3 weeks kind of rolls through Christmas and New Year's, so you kind of have to put it on hold during that time frame because
Yeah.
just about everybody that we work with is on vacation, so that makes it a little bit tougher. But if we were to, say, sign it today, we've got maybe a week left in this year that's productive, and then it would kind of roll over to the start of January. So you're probably looking at second or third week in January before we would have all that information together. And that's assuming that, everyone on the council could get together at a certain point in time here in the next week or so to get that done. Otherwise, we'd have to kind of add that time to the back end of that.
Right.
This is
Thank
unfor-
you. Al.
Yeah, this is unfortunately the hardest time of the year to get something done.
And also, Mark, I think you said that you was willing to help find an environmental consultant
Correct. Yeah.
and kind of get them, push them and get them started on that. It's just that your firm couldn't actually do it.
Right. We just, because of our insurance regulations, we can't be the one that hires them, but we can certainly do all the research and help the city out to pick from a couple different options.
Mark, is there any way you can kind of give the council just a ballpark figure of what this feasibility and the environmental study would cost us?
Um, Based on the environmental report, I think we should be able to be around 10,000 and under. The feasibility part of that would kind of depend on whether, you can do it in-house or if it has to go, to some other financial group to do the work. So that one's a little bit harder for me to put a number to. I know John's done it quite a few times in the past, and I don't know if he has any background on what that cost could range from, depending on the size of the project.
Well, the cities that I've worked with before, they've always had somebody on staff that could do one. So it hasn't been done at any cost to them in the past. I don't know if Dan is comfortable with doing, something like that. I mean, we have a guide. Maybe I could send him the guide and he could look at it and see if he thought he could do that. But, but your financial advisor, I mean, those guys, I don't know what they would charge. I've never had a financial advisor do one before. It was just a thought I had that you might want to go that route. But a lot of the format for the feasibility study is right along the architect guide for the architect report. So you can almost take most of the information off of Mark's report, and then you would have to add some. There's 5 years of projections that you have to do for one of these, and that's probably the hardest thing to do. If you can budget for 1 year, it's not too bad, but if you have to go 4 more years, then it's a little tougher to do. A lot of assumptions you have to make. But one of these loans, we have to base it on 5 years.
Okay.
So,
Council, are we ready to move forward on something like this, or? I mean, because it is gonna be out of our pocket for a while, or, I mean, if we don't do something tonight, is it just, I mean, do we have a deadline?
Not really. I mean, I wouldn't want to go, several months waiting, but I mean, if you're not comfortable right now, want to put this off until January, and, maybe Mark can go ahead and make that trip down there without an agreement. I don't know. That's up to him
Yeah,
if he can do that.
Yeah, I'm certainly willing to work with you to kind of get it along till you're comfortable and just kind of take a look at the different options. Because I could probably give you some feedback on an existing building fairly quickly.
I think that would be good because it looks like we need to have a real discussion on moving forward. Uh, so yeah, if it won't hurt us too bad by putting it out to sometime in January, uh, is that, will that bother you too much?
No, not too much, Mayor. Only for you, I'll do that.
All right. Okay, we'll try to do it as soon as we can sometime in January, and we'll let both of y'all know what time we'll decide and get together and have our discussion, and then we'll get back with you.
Okay,
Ma-
sounds good.
Mayor, can I say something?
Yes.
Mark, if it's okay, could we go ahead and set up a time, that would be convenient for everybody? Maybe right after the first of the year, and then us as a council could meet, or maybe the council needs to meet before Mark comes. What are y'all? We would like to have a special meeting and then have Mark come as to what we have decided.
Yes, I think we do.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have my calendar. What's the first, I mean, I'm. Is anyone, what about the week after Christmas? Just for us, the council to meet on it. Is everyone going to be here? Charles, could we set up a meeting, a special call meeting for maybe the 28th? Is that on a Monday, Cindy? Of December? And then we could let Mark kind of know what we've decided, and then we can set up a time for him to come down.
The 28th. Let me check right quick.
Mine looks like it's coming.
Yep, it's 28th. Okay with me.
Okay. And then Mark, when we meet as of after the 28th, is that okay if we let you know and then we can set up a time to meet with you?
Yeah, that'd be great. And if you guys figure out a time, I'll make it work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, I guess that's all we have on that agenda item. I thank you, both of you guys, for coming down, and we'll see you sometime after the 28th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's See, number 8, discussion of possible action recommending bid awards to TXCDBG contract number by KSA Engineers. Recommendation by Clayton Scales Engineer. Renee, is that you? You're muted. Can you unmute her, Dan?
No, sir, I can't unmute anyone. They have control over that.
Renee, can you unmute yourself? There you go.
I'm trying. Yeah, that is the grant from CBDG. I don't know whether Clayton Scales is here or not.
Yes, ma'am, we're here.
Ah, there they are. I
Absolutely.
believe,
Go ahead, Renee.
I'm sorry that I believe that they just want to hear what your recommendations are as far as a contractor for the project.
Okay, you bet. Well, we opened bids last week and had 3 bidders on the project. We had Gates Utilities out of Dumas, and then Tejas out of Denver City, and Entrench out of Hobbs, New Mexico. All 3 of the bids came in at the budget or below, which is great. Gates Utilities was the low bidder. They came in at $221,000 and a little bit of change, which is significantly below the budget. They gave you guys a really good price. So we called some references. I've known Tony for a while, but I've not done a project with him. So we called some references they provided that were all glowing. So looks like they've done projects just like this, projects of this size and this type. So that's where we stand. And I guess the next step moving forward, if you're so inclined as a council, is to award the project to Gates or to any of the others. It's certainly your prerogative to award it to who you like. Are there any questions?
And they're said they're how much lower than the highest bids?
They were at $221,000. The highest bid was actually just under 300, 299 and change. The second low bid was Tejas out of Denver City. They came in at 268.
And that's Espinosa, isn't it?
Charlie, yes, sir. I believe that's his last name.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we accept the bid for Gates Utilities LLC.
I second it.
Motion has been made and second to take Gates as the low bidder for the project. All in favor, Alderman Ruben Weiss.
Aye.
Alderman Shannon Wadzik,
Aye.
Alderman Deborah Milton,
Aye.
Alderman Kendra Sellers,
Aye.
and Alderman Cindy Durham.
Aye.
Please let me documented that motion has passed. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming down. So I guess we are ready. You need anything else from us?
I believe that's it. We'll go ahead and notify Gates and get them agreements to complete, and then we'll get those to the city to execute as well. We'll move forward quick as we can.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming down. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
You too.
Next on the agenda is number 9. Discussion and replacement of the Public Works Director upon retirement. Develop job description and requirements. Discuss the application process. Renee provided us with her current job description, and we can start off with talking about the job description first, And then they talk about her replacement, and most of all, we need to talk about when is her original plans to leave so we can react. So have y'all had a chance to look at her job description? Y'all got some addition, deletion, changes?
The only thing I would like to see is that we add that they must live within, within the city limits or within 5 miles of the city limits, or, I just think, the person that we hire needs to live here. That's my personal opinion.
I agree with Deborah.
I do too, Cindy Durham.
Do we want a second option if we have problem getting somebody to live here? We may do that. Do we want a second option, like a mileage limit? I mean, but let's just push for the living here first, of course. But in our advertisement, we probably don't need to put it on there. And if we have to, we have to go back. But I agree. I think it'd be nice to have a person, that individual living here. But it may cause some problems. So
I'd hate to go through the whole process of interviewing someone and then tell them at the interview that we are going to require that they live here. I personally think it needs to be in the requirements that we're going to advertise. And then if we don't get anyone accept or apply for the job, then we can go back to the drawing board and change it. But
that's what I said. I mean, that's what I want.
oh, okay.
It was a pretty detailed resume. I mean, y'all have any more questions on it?
When is Renee's last day?
I think she said 22. I don't know what month.
August.
Is that August of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So how soon do you want to get someone to start working alongside of you on the job training?
Well, if they don't have any Texas certification, it takes at least a year for TCEQ to approve them to take a test to get their certification.
So what are you saying? He needs to be working that long?
Yes, sir, they need to be working that long. And that's just to get certification.
Renee, this is Cindy Durham. If they have certification, what would be the time frame that they need to be employed?
If they have certification, then they probably have quite a bit of experience. So it could be considerably less than that.
Okay.
Maybe we can add this to that special meeting for the 28th and go ahead and, or, I mean, and go ahead and set up some dates that we want to go ahead and start advertising, or unless y'all want to do that tonight. Do it tonight. Can we, I mean, does everybody agree that these qualifications are what we want to start using? And Charles, we're all in the, to go ahead and use this that Renee has sent us, along with adding, we would like them to live in the city limits.
That's
And go
fine with
ahead
me. I'm
go
okay
ahead
with
and
it.
start advertising and, see where, but we'd like to, I know there's a website that I think it's through TML that we can advertise also.
Okay.
We'd like to start that procedure or process.
Okay, and are we gonna when do we want to start to work? Are we gonna advertise that to start to you pass? We select someone. When are they gonna start to work?
But to me, that would be after we've decided who we're hiring. And we've got to go through the process of interviewing, and to
Yeah.
me, it's been budgeted. And so, at any point in time, if we find the right person, we can hire them. But,
Okay.
first of all, we've got to start this process.
Okay. I just want to get some clearance. Well, I'm okay with it. I mean, it sounds like a good idea. I was hoping that's what we decide to go ahead and start advertising, because I don't know how are we going to give a time frame to advertise?
Well, I mean, we have to get we have to get someone to apply for it. As we get them, we'll look at them. I mean,
Before this starts, well, that's not my job, that's not my job.
Okay, Dan, uh, are you going to advertise it in other cities? Are you going to go as high as Lubbock or Brownfield?
Whatever you all want me to do, I'll be happy to do. Alderman Middleton's right that TML does have a job board. We can put it on there.
Okay.
Other than that, since you want it to be someone who lives in Seagraves, unfortunately, there's no local advertising in Seagraves. So I don't know how many Seagraves residents actually take the Seminole paper. Maybe more of them do look at, I'm in no way know anything about this, but it seems to me the main way, this is just from overhearing things, that people in Seagraves learn about stuff is through Facebook. So maybe you want to advertise somehow on that.
I don't have no objection anywhere to advertise myself. So we want to do this pretty quick, so we need to decide. At first, I guess we can go to TML and get that started.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I could-
the conversation or some suggestions are Terry County has a paper, Denver City, Seminole, and Lubbock. And then we'll post it with TML and then on Facebook. What else? Yes, even if Midland, Odessa, that's great with all the job layoffs and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we could advertise, at least for a couple of weeks in the different ones.
I think you get a lot more candidates if you include Midland and Odessa. I mean, I'm sure they got probably assistants up there in those towns at large that would be interested and already would be qualified. Just
Yeah.
okay. Well, we can move on from there, and we can do that. Renee, the gentleman that you had was referred us to there. He's working, but he's not doing nothing. Like, have you had any experience with that? The one you were talking about?
He has some supervisory experience. He has, I believe he's getting his master's degree in business administration. And he's certainly willing to get certified by the state of Texas.
Okay.
I haven't talked to him in a while, so I don't know if he's employed yet or not.
Okay. Okay, I think that's only action we need tonight. I don't think we need a motion on that, Dan, to move forward.
No, sir, I would just ask you to get me the list of publications you'd like me to contact. And if your thoughts are that you would like verbatim the job description that Renee furnished us, I can send that to all these different publications and ask them to run that. And I will, of course, add that we would want someone who would live in Seagraves.
Okay, sounds good enough with me. Anybody else want to add anything?
Dan, can we go ahead and give you a list tonight of where the publications we'd like you to advertise in?
Yes, ma'am, if you'd like to go ahead through that list. I wasn't ready last time I heard.
Okay. Okay.
Do you actually know the names of the newspapers or just the cities that I need to investigate?
Brownfield News, Denver City Press, Odessa American, Seminole Sentinel, Lubbock Avalanche, and does anyone know Midland? Calvin?
I'll find out, ma'am. I'll look into it and get the name of the publication in Midland. Is there any other city that you feel you'd like to target? And
We
let me
do
add,
want to, we do want to target Abilene. Did you think Sweetwater has one, Calvin, or would Abilene take that? Okay.
It's called the Abilene Reporter.
Abilene Reporter News in Midland.
I'll find out, ma'am.
Okay.
How about anything else? Are we looking at Big Spring, San Angelo? If we're going in the region, why stop? It's going to cost money each time you post a want ad, especially if it's kind of long like this one, but I guess you want to throw the biggest net for qualified candidates that you can.
You know, do we want to just advertise with that first 2 paragraphs and then put that they can call for requirements? You know, we could just advert, and y'all, I'm thinking as I'm speaking, but the job description, Public Works Director for the city of Seagraves. And then this position is responsible, and list those, the 3 things before the bullet points.
Good idea.
And then at the bottom of it, put that requirements are available, you know, on the city website, or either you can have them available at the city and have them email you or call you.
Yeah, all of that. I can do all of that.
Okay, then it wouldn't be as big.
No, it'd be, and why don't you let me, I'll certainly contact the newspapers you listed and get you all, you know, a list of, let's just figure everything in West Texas. Why not? And contact them and get it sent out.
Can I make
Okay.
a suggestion as well?
Yes.
We have an association called the Texas Waterworks Association, and they post jobs all the time, and they cover the whole state of Texas. And it is specifically designed for water and wastewater folk.
There you go.
We should start there before we,
Spend money on newspapers.
that's what I'm thinking. Let's go to TML. What do y'all think?
TML,
Yes,
And-
it sounds
TML
good.
is good, and what Renee's talking about would be good too. But if you're wanting to attract people in Seagraves, if anybody knows anybody who might be qualified, send them over, right?
It'll be on our website too. We'll post it on as a
Mhm.
job description on our website.
Yes, we can do all that.
Okay, sound like that's a good solution. Let's go that route then. Dan, I guess you get with Renee, and if
Sure.
you have to help her if she can do it or whatever.
Yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow, won't we, Renee?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next item. It's discuss the agent utility account and procedures for charging off uncollected receivable asset. Well, it looked like that was one of the auditors' items that we're not doing good at, that we got to do something next year. So I guess we now need to move our priorities up and work on that. I know we can't do it now, but you know, we can talk about how we're gonna do it, what process we're gonna go through.
Dan, what would you estimate the dollars to be on?
I haven't looked at it.
Okay.
What brought all this on is, I don't know if you recall, but the first year that I was here, there was a similar situation with the very, very old uncollected accounts that were
Mhm.
being carried in our utility billing. And I just took a look at it myself and said, all of these things that are 15, 20 years old, we got to just get rid of them. So I just had, I had them all charged off all at one time, which cleaned up the whole process a lot. But I was reprimanded by the audit that following year because I didn't have the legal authority to make that decision. That was y'all's decision to make. So that's why I haven't touched it again since then. I did highlight page 1 of the aging report that I sent you this month, and showed you some accounts that I would recommend to be targeted to be charged off. But that's really a determination that you all are going to have to make. And you'll have to tell me which ones you want to have charged off. I can't do it on my own anymore.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
do we want to start with
maybe more than that.
some type of age, year that we want to really focus on first and see if anyone recognize or know where those people are, if they're still alive or what? I mean, we need a starting point now. It looks to me like we need to look at the oldest one first and see what that amount is and see who they are. And I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to get a conversation started on what process we want to use to do something. It's just still hanging around.
I say we need to, if it's, what would y'all say? A year old? We should, or even sooner than that. I like, this is the end of 2020. If it's 2019 or June of 2020 and past, if they ain't paid it in 6 months, they're not gonna pay it. Or is that too soon? Should we turn some of those over to collection?
Some do pay. Since I charged off these accounts and we put in new procedures for when we sign new people up, and whenever we get a chance, we collect people's driver's license number.
Oh,
That
okay.
driver's license number gets them found. They may run away and they may be gone for years until they want to do something that they, whoever getting a job, whatever it is, it'll come back to haunt them and they will pay it. But it would be, you know, I'll give you all the info. If you give me a list of names of people to give you more information on, I can tell you whether we've got any driver's license information on them, if we got any kind of lead. Sometimes we collect on these bad debts because they want to move into Seagraves Housing, and Seagraves Housing checks with us first. If they got a bad account here, they have to take care of it. So not all of them are gone for good. And we do have a process in place where we turn them over at about the time you're talking about, Alderman Durham, at around 6 months. We'll turn them over for collection, but that doesn't mean you necessarily want to charge them off. But we turn them over to Purdue and let Purdue get after them. They start sending them letters and they get results as well. But there are those that are just hopeless, and most of the really hopeless ones I got rid of years ago.
Okay.
But, they do come up. And
So when did you
look-
start
Oh,
taking
it was-
driver's license?
As soon as I got here, we
Okay,
took a
so-
look at the way that they had been opening accounts. There was a lot of stuff. I mean, we would have all the people would have to do is run up a big bill and then send somebody else who lived in that same house over here to open an account in their name, and they're all still living there, but they just run through everybody in the house with the new account and rack up bill after bill after bill. So we put a stop to that kind of stuff.
So at least by 2017 or 2016?
Any that you would like more information on,
Okay,
I'll be
look at
happy to
it.
get that for you. And also, I heard Mr. Ray advised that it wasn't something you needed to be doing on an ongoing basis. This is a kind of a quarterly, would probably be a good way to do it at first. And then
Oh.
after that, you may want to just make it an annual exercise where you take a good look at the accounts and go through it, you know, just So everybody knows that at this period of time, when things are slow, otherwise we'll spend some time looking at these accounts, but it's just something that needs to be done, according to Mr. Ray, at least annually. I would say to begin with, my advice would be to take a look at it at least quarterly.
You know, there must have been some real old ones in there for him to identify him as the agent. I mean, you know, it had to been some in there.
Well,
They're pretty old.
yeah, there's one on that first page that I sent you that was from 2004.
Yeah, that's probably what he saw.
The ones I charged off were a lot older than that. I mean, we were carrying accounts that hadn't made a payment in 15, 20 years, you know.
Okay, we'll just look at them.
Okay. So what is going to be our process? What are we going to do?
If you all would like to look at that list, the aging report I just sent you, pick out the accounts that you would think should be considered to be charged off and get me that list. I'll get back to you with whether we have anything to go on or if they all look as hopeless to the staff here at City Hall as they may to you, and then you can decide.
So what kind of time frame, Dan? How long soon you want it back?
It's up to y'all. We're just starting the brand new year. I'd say have some action on this by the end of this first quarter, which is going to be here again sometime right after New Year. You can put it off for another quarter. It's not a real urgent thing time-wise. It's just something that's going to have to be addressed and corrected prior to each audit.
Would it be best if each of us council members took a certain alphabet A through D, someone take, and then go through those and report back to you what we think should be?
Or just divide up the pages. I believe that report is 40 some pages long,
48
you know.
pages, okay.
So
What do
just
y'all-
divide them up.
40. Yeah. So how many pages total? 20?
38.
Okay, so if we each did 8 pages, there's 5 of us, that's 40.
So just, if y'all got it, just tell me what pages you want me to do. First date,
Hey, Dan, this is Kendra. Can you let Ruben back in the meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know he had left.
I'll take the first date pages.
And I'll take 9 through 17. So 18 to 26. Or Kendra. And then page 27 to 35. Ruben. And then that'd leave page 36 and 30 through 38 for Shannon.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Deborah,
Dan,
what
we've
did
got
you
these
say?
kind of assigned to us.
Deborah?
Each of us are taking about 8 pages, and then as we look through those, we'll just get back to you.
Yeah, just let me know who you think you'd like to know more about, and we'll find out. I mean, it's just a matter of us pulling up what information we have. And if we've got a driver's license number on somebody, and this is just what I would do. If I had a driver's license number on someone who hadn't paid me in a couple of years, I'd figure within the next 2 or 3 years, they're bound to do something where it's going to be a problem and they'll probably want to take care of it. But if I've got a driver's license number on somebody that I hadn't heard from in 20 years, chances are they're not going to be doing anything. That kind of, but I don't think you're going to find that there are that many accounts that you're going to have to do something about anyway. I would start with the oldest ones, certainly. That would be the place to start. Anybody who hadn't made a payment since 2004 or before that, those are probably, we're not going to see them. But
No.
Deborah, what were the numbers that you said were for me?
Page 36 through 38.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, I think that's all we need on the agent report. We'll move on to the next item, which is discussion, the Rotary Ground as a possible site for a community building.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
okay, I'm the one that requested to put it on the agenda, but I appreciate you putting it on there. But we got too much going on with the city hall and the police department. I think we should hold off and discuss that later on.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
It is-
if
it
y'all want
is,
to discuss it, that'd be great. But if y'all don't, we can move on. I mean, I think we got enough on our plate for the city hall and police department.
it is something we can need. Have you thought about just,
I mean, if the council, I mean, if that's something everybody wants to talk about, it'd be great.
I
But
mean, have we thought about trying to get donation? I mean, I don't know how expensive it would be, but there may be enough people in the community and open it up for everybody, and you never know. I mean, there's some people out here would help quite a bit. I mean, it's just another place, and we definitely need another place. I mean, because you really, it's nearly booked every weekend for something. And then for us, it'd be nice to have us another place that we could go to that's vented. And this thing is not gonna go away, I don't think. I mean, I think we're gonna always be having to sacrifice or look for something else. But you may give that some consideration. We can move on, and then we can just kind of to ourselves just ask around the community to people who see what they think about donating money to help build something like that. I don't know, but whatever. It was just a suggestion. Hello?
Charles, this is Cindy. I know we've already passed by this, but I don't feel like we should even consider selling the land that was donated to us behind the community. I mean, behind the Hickenbotham.
Yeah, I know
That's the perfect place for our dog facility. And Mr. Perkins had sent me an email back a few weeks ago, and I haven't got to respond, and I knew tonight wasn't when to talk about it, but about their thing. But we've got to build that dog facility. And I just don't, I think we need to just tell him up front, it is not for sale. That was donated in good faith to us to do that. And even though Hickenbotham's not here anymore, I feel like that we owe that to them.
Yeah.
I guess because I worked so hard on it. I don't think that it's as valuable to sell it as it is that we need it. You know, I don't know. What do any of y'all think?
This is Alderman Sellers, and I agree with Cindy. I think that because that was donated to us in good faith to build that dog shelter or the animal shelter, that we need to not consider selling that.
Anyone else want to comment?
I agree. I mean, that if it, it was donated in good faith for animal control, animal shelter, that's what it should be used for. I really wish that would start making progress. It's been rolling and spinning wheels for way too long, but I don't think that selling it after it's already been given to us, I don't think that that's appropriate. That's just my 2 cents.
Deborah says she can't unmute, but she totally agrees. And I mean, I plan on after the first of the year, we've got that architect firm hired that we need to get at that. I'd like to see it completed next year. We got the money, and if we want to borrow the money and pay 2% interest or whatever we want to do, and that's the way the EDC board feels too, because they've asked me about it. So.
Well, I mean, it looks like to me that, I mean, the council has spoken. I mean, that's all we got to do is move forward. We just have to contact that firm and tell them, I reason behind it and move forward. But I am ready to get started on the construction of that project. I mean, it's really, but I noticed COVID, we thought we had it going good with, I think it was Capital, I believe it was, where they was going to come out and do everything. They was going to build it, engineer it, and do the whole thing. But then this COVID came into play, and that just shut that down. So we're back at square one. But we did find out before we could move forward, we had to get a qualified engineer to do the project, and we've done that, so we can move forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Who contacted you about? Who did the company contact who about buying that land? Who was it?
Renee said it in her report.
Oh, Renee, that's right. Okay. Renee, if you will, or I will, if I get his number and everything and tell him what our plans are, and he can make other arrangements.
I will definitely give you his number, or I will tell him myself.
Okay.
And Renee, just a side note, that Johnny Williams right across the street, it is for sale.
Okay. All right, I'll let him know that.
Okay.
That's a good
Thank you.
idea. That's really good. That may be a better place. It's gonna be more visible. Okay. If you do that, Renee, we'll move on.
Yes, sir, I'll do it.
Thank you. Next to consent agenda, we've already done it. Public comments.
No one has signed for public comments. I don't believe anybody's left who's not already a part of this meeting.
Okay. In the public comments, well, anyway, I can say it. No, the next side, I would just move to 14 any. Inaudible wants a discussion, but no action will be taken at this time. But I would like to let the council know I did receive a email from the CFR, and that the city of Seagraves have already been awarded $158,000, and in addition to the $30,000 that we had initially. But that $158,000, basically, we paid police salary with that money, and we are still eligible for more. So that just was an update, and I thought we needed to hear some good news for a change, but that I did get that today. I thought that was a really great.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else they want to share with the council? If not, we'll set the date and time for the next meeting.
January 11th, second Monday, 2021.
That's the next regular council meeting, but we also got a
Oh,
on the 28th.
yes, special. Does that need to be 6:30?
Ruben,
That's
6:30.
okay. If there's nothing else, the meeting needs to be adjourned. Need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Motion has been made by Deborah Miller to adjourn. Meeting adjourned. Well, you guys have a good night.